Resuming debate, the honourable member for Windsor West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm pleased to rise today and to contribute to this debate. And I think one of the most telling statements and observations of today was the first statement the Parliamentary Secretary said was that 25 years of federal absence. And I was here, Madam Speaker, and I know you were here for part of that time, when Paul Martin cancelled federal housing, when the Liberals resisted time after time after time. And the Parliamentary Secretary is correct that Paul Martin and his administration, even the John Chrétien genre, where I was part of this House, were the ones that crumbled away a national housing strategy, that drove the distance between provinces, municipalities, and the federal government to be proactive, to build on the success that we had and ensure that housing stocks that we currently had were going to remain viable for the future, and new ones would meet the demand that would provide the homes for safety, for education, for quality of life for so many people today. So we are in a major catch-up scenario because of the 25 years the Parliamentary Secretary rightly described in the opening statements today. He is absolutely correct to put this where it belongs, to Paul Martin, to Jean Chrétien, not doing the work that was forewarned time after time by New Democrats and other people in this chamber, governments that were slashing social services, at the same time providing massive corporate tax cuts, including to sectors like the insurance industries, the oil and gas companies, a series of others that made record profits at a time when social investment today would actually make us a stronger economy and would deal with some of the humanity issues that we face so much with an opioid crisis and other emerging trends, that a safe place above your head for you and your family is so important to be able to achieve. And Madam Speaker, that is echoed across the country. And it's also important to notice in this motion that we have is the role of the private sector. And in the private sector, we have, Madam Speaker, a number of different options that are available, but also this government that continues to make decisions that erode housing options. And the area that I represent, Madam Speaker, is one of the highest rates of child poverty. And most recently, not only have we been waiting for investments for federal housing to take place, we have seen this government and this cabinet do an order in council to eliminate housing from our market. And I'll get to that in a second, Madam Speaker. I represent Sandwichtown, the oldest European settlement west of Montreal, where the War of 1812 was fought, the Underground Railroad. And today it has one of the highest rates of poverty, challenges with immigrations coming in, supports to make sure people get back to school, single families, parent families, and it's recognized even through third-party reports as being one of the most challenged in the nations. Most recently by Campaign 2000 to End Child and Poverty, the riding by riding analysis shows, sadly, we're just outside the top 10. And what did this government do, Madam Speaker? In this region, in this area, that has 1/3 of Canada's daily trade to the United States, they gave a private American billionaire, Matty Maroon is his name, who has his tentacles through the history of the Liberal Party, permission to build a new bridge and at the same time demolish single-family and multiplex homes for affordable housing that they bought up. And if that wasn't bad enough, Madam Speaker, the repercussions were already being felt because they bought these homes, they boarded the doors, they boarded the windows. We lost schools, most recently being Forester High School, We lost a post office, one of the longest standing post offices in Canada from the 1800s that used to deliver mail, the horse and carriage system. We lost places of worship and businesses. And so, Madam Speaker, those aren't familiar with an order in council. An order in council is essentially a decree from the Prime Minister and their cabinet that avoids all scrutiny, is the will of them and their moment, that they know everything, and they issue that law, that privilege, that right, without coming through this chamber or even the unelected chamber. It doesn't even have to go through the unelected chamber. It just happens. So they gave this billionaire, who in the United States, because of his conduct on the American side, was actually sent to a day in prison. They gave him the keys and the process to not only continue to have these homes and be rewarded for boarding and locking them up, they now want to do that to another 30 to 40 homes. In fact, the situation has become so grave that they decided, even at this point in time, to erect lawn signs on these properties calling for their demolition because they got the green light and the special permission and the privileged access from this government to do another border crossing without any terms or conditions, not even any terms for community benefits, which ironically, Madam Speaker, the Liberals voted in their own private member's motion to do a community benefit project, and they just ignored their own advice from their own members. And I don't know, I think it's buried in some committee somewhere, but we haven't seen the light of a day of it here. It's just another Liberal motion that's gone to another place, probably perhaps to show something they did during the actual tenure here in the last 4 years, but we haven't seen it even come back here at this point in time. But they didn't even do that. They didn't even follow their own member and their advice of their own member here in this chamber. So what do we have happen right now? We have another war on the city streets of Windsor at a time when housing is at a crisis point. Although Windsor has had the blessing of lower housing prices than other places, so affordable housing has been something that has been attainable to a certain level. That has shifted radically in the last 5 years. And hundreds now are without proper accommodation. The market is increasing. More people are flocking to the city. We have issues over opioids and other social problems that are multiplying. And the perfect storm is taking place at this point in time, and we have more and more people than ever before that don't have a place for them and their families at the end of the day. And the government is very cognizant of this. And they're very cognizant of their partner that's destroying these homes and asking for more homes to be destroyed. And we have seen no action. We have seen no action. So, Madam Speaker, I hope when they consider this motion, and in the motion is the notation of the private sector, is perhaps some of their responsibility with their partners, including the Ambassador Bridge and their project that they're proceeding on from the Order in Council, from the Prime Minister and his cabinet, including the minister responsible for today's debate here, to do something about the mere fact that their actions are eliminating affordable home options in my community. You literally have right now homes, single-family homes, others that are duplexes or quadplexes that could provide the safe place for a mother, a father, their children, and the economic basis for a community to survive being shut down because of their policies, lack of accountability, and the mere fact their promises are nothing less than the broken words they are.